Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like what we're saying is it's the attachment to the emotions that is kind of rooting us in this Velcro brain, which is less than ideal. It's kind of manipulating our perception of things. My question is, how does our most purest form of emotion in terms of, say, love or bliss, how does that integrate, and how isn't it if this is the case that we're making, how isn't it almost a fallacy or a trap into the Velcro brain?
So the love and compassion, these are selfless, you can say the wholesome emotions, which these emotions are not based on particular cause and condition, right? That's why we call them unconditional love, right? Unconditional love. The conditional love is based on the self, the self. So that's why they say, you're Canadian. So I'm also Canadian. So you feeling doing it? Or you're Catholic. I'm also Catholic. So okay, well then we are fine. This is conditional. But now, what about who is not Canadian? Who is not Catholic? Then you're in trouble. Then you're about to even harm others. Unconditional love, unconditional compassion embraces everyone, because it's not based on this self. You consider everyone like me. So that's why we wish happiness to everyone. We are not just concerned about my own well-being. I'm concerned about well-being of every sentient being.
One quick follow-up is, would artistic expression fall into the same kind of unconditional category?
Artistic?
Expression? Because that's something that you can get attached to. But it can be selfless as well.
Yeah, it could be selfless if you take that way. Right? Sometimes, the artistic expression could be selfish too. If you have to understand what is the real mental condition of that artist who is doing it. Right?
Just going back 5 or 10 minutes, you said the self is not real or not permanent. You're talking about the self as it pertains to the human experience, but is there not a self that goes outside of that? The Sanskrit word is Atman, or something called soul. Is that permanent, or is that?
Actually, the self is another notion, the concept. Now, real notion of self, that's why in the Vedic tradition, they did talk about a concept called self, Atma, right? Now, although they talked about an Atman, the self, they did not define what really Atman is. Maybe they go, this is the Atman coming from this purest, self called Brahman, right? And it's everlasting. What is this self? This, let's say you, me. This is a self coming from so and so. It's everlasting, and once you die, this Atman will go back to its own origin. That's the only explanation given for this self. The Buddha comes into the scene. He said, wait a minute. You're talking about an eternal self, Atman. But what you call the Atman is not an Atman to my knowledge. You call this the Atman. But to my understanding, this one that you call the Atman is a combination of 5 psychophysical entities. 5 psychophysical entities. Physical body, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. But to my experience and understanding, each physical mental entity is changing constantly. Your feelings are changing, your perception about the world and the things are changing, your body is definitely changing. Whatever mentally you construct, that also changes. Your consciousness definitely changes every second, every moment. So, and you're calling this is the eternal self. But to my experience, my understanding, there is no such an eternal thing. All there is just a constant change. But when these are separately changing entities that we see. But when you put them together, he gave a very powerful example. Now let's say we call the self, let's say the car, the car. We call it a car when you put different things together, assemble it. When you put the 4 wheels and the steering wheel, body, engine, seat together, when you assemble them together, put them together, then you call it a car. Now, you separate. You put the engine in this place, the steering wheel to another place, the car seat to another place, the car body to another place. Now, to which one would you call the car? None of them. So that's the Buddha says, all there is, just a combination of all this, but there's no true self. All there is the constant change. So it's to understand this, to really understand this, we have to, that's why we again encouraging people to do vipassana. Without doing vipassana, it is impossible to understand this. So we need to practice meditation. Yeah.
So I have been to 2 Vipassana sessions that are in really 10-day courses, right? And while you're there, you don't speak, right? You just hold silence, right? And you don't look at people directly or anything. So you're very into that self that isn't there. But you're doing meditation every day. So it's a very artificial environment. We don't have that anywhere, right? Silence. So after doing each 10-day session, I'd come out and feel great. I'm like, wow, I'm enlightened. I feel really wonderful, right? And then as soon as you get injected back into your world, where you must have sort of articulated goals, and you're judged by your progress, isn't there attachment to all that? Like, how do you go through your regular life and keep that sense of peace, but still live in the real world? Right?
So that's why first you need to free yourself.
Well, I felt free when I was there, but it's like I felt wonderful. But I remember stopping at the first Tim Hortons on the way back, thinking, "Wow, everything's crashing back." So to maintain that, I understand that you must have a practice.
Yeah.
You know, you must practice meditation, and when I
It
my
has to
good
be.
roles, I do. But
Yeah, it has to be. You don't stop it there. Now the thing is, of course, you do 10 days.
yes,
You have observed so many things. You gain a lot of insights. Now, as a practitioner, now see whether you can apply that into the real life situations when you come back to the
exactly.
real life.
So if I could just go back to the question, how do you maintain a sense of goals, which we are very, in our society, we should be goal-oriented, and we should have certain success markers and certain things, materialistic markers are success, but also certain developments.
Yeah.
So how do you keep those goals in mind, but not be attached to them, or not have any attachments?
Well, that's why. Now I have to give you this advice.
Okay.
I think this is why Buddha created a separate community.
For women?
Community.
No.
Do you know what is that community?
No.
Sangha, monastic community.
Oh,
A community of renouncers. You renounce the world.
and yet those that renounced, one thing I find interesting is that those that renounced were still dependent on others to feed them and clothe them, right? Because you weren't supposed to,
Yeah.
you had to beg for your food, and you had to, so you're depending on the charity of others who have to have goals and jobs and things to
Yeah.
be able to share.
Yeah. So it's also like, that's why this Sangha is called the fourfold community. So now, of course, even the monastic community, although they have to do begging for food, they don't have to beg for a lot of food. Maybe, whoever gives something, you accept that. And in fact, they are happy with that. And they are not craving for more. Let's say for us, I'm not saying that I'm enlightened monk. You know the robe I am using now? You know how many years I have been using this robe?
No.
Well, this is still in good condition. More than 20 years. So this is about the mind. You prepare your mind to a certain extent. That is okay. Of course, I understand. I also got that impression. I don't know whether I told this. I told this story, my own experience during my university days. So one day, I was having some coffee in the cafeteria with some students. So one female student asked me a question. Bhante, every day we see you in the same costume, same color, same everything same. Don't you have any other clothes, any other outfits, any other colors? Actually, when that student asked me this, it kind of annoyed me. Annoyed me in the sense that, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? That's true. Look at these people. They are really enjoying the life. But I did not say anything. I said, no, I don't know, I have no clue, I don't have an answer to this question. I went back to the temple. I threw my bags and jumped onto my bed, lie down. And then I was thinking about this. I was thinking, seriously thinking about this question. And then I realized one commitment that I made when I was getting the novice ordination. I told the teacher to ordain me with this statement, this vision. What's the vision and mission? To end all sufferings, to realize Nibbana or Nirvana. Please take this robe and ordain me. And then I realized, wow, I am practicing this lifestyle with this goal in mind, that is to end all suffering. Now, to end suffering, you have to practice letting go of the attachments. You have to practice this simplicity, simple lifestyle. And my life, this one, the robe I'm using, is, I'm contented with what I have. This is the practice of detachment and practice of this simple life. And when I reflected on this, I kind of got energized. I was happy. I was smiling, laughing to myself. And I was looking forward to going back to the campus following day to tell that female student. And then when I went to the campus, then after the lecture, we met again for the coffee. And then I told her, look, you asked me a question yesterday. I did not have the clear answer to it, but today I have a clear answer to that question. I said, what is that? So I explained all this. I said, now you're putting all these colorful outfits every day. You're doing all this, but do you have such a goal? They said no. So, but I said, okay, you're lay people. You're social beings. You need to practice this. But we are the renouncers. We have let go. We are practicing letting go of all this. So now, it's a level of understanding that you have to have. I also have a lot of privileges. Like I told people many times, I had the privilege of becoming the full-time professor at U of T. I was offered the full-time job. I was almost there to accept the job, but in the last minute, before signing the contract, I reflected on my life. Then I realized, if I sign this paper, I will be confined in this building, in this academic world. So, but I have this goal. I made this commitment at the age of 10. So I need to, keep practicing, until I accomplish my goal. So then I said no to that job. So sometimes, of course, for me it's easy because I'm a layperson. I have no commitments like, to look after the family, to feed the children or to do this or that. But then it is also a kind of level of understanding and the lifestyle that you choose to live. So in your life, of course, for 10 days, you were cut off from the real world. You got the real sense of feeling of relief. You were like you felt like you found freedom. But after 10 days, on the way back to your house, when you saw the Tim Horton, you go like, wow, I'm back to real life. I want this, I want that. No?
Actually, I wanted to keep that feeling, but I'm just saying, real life comes in on you really fast.
Yeah. So that's why you need to always keep in mind, and you have to reflect on your experience, your practice, and then see whether you can sustain that peace in the real life, no matter what happens. Like when somebody does something to you, yells at you, or does something negative, bad, see there, you can see whether you can really sustain your peace there. If you can be patient, that shows that Dhamma is there with you in day-to-day life.
If I can just intervene, we have about 15 minutes left, so if you could go through this. And also, I also want to mention that, Bhante Sarnapala and monks like him do have their existence, their support through donations of the community, because he didn't charge me to come up here. He came out of his own free will to serve the community. And so there is, on the table back there, there's a red sort of jar-ish thing. So if you feel motivated to do so, you're welcome to leave a donation there when you leave, as I noticed some people have started leaving. And those are to support, for example, his temple, the activities such as this, because they also need to eat. Someone's got a mortgage to pay on their behalf, and so on and so forth. So that will be helpful for him and monks at his temple to be able to pursue these activities. And
Yeah, so
tell us about the cessation of suffering.
then the cessation of suffering is to, now I said that it is the emotional mind that makes you think that that exists. So now what you do is, like through the practice of meditation, you go for the level of mental purities, right? When you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in this practice, then you will see how things happen. Okay? How things, as people say, tend to think things exist. And it's the seeing is called the wisdom, panya. Panya is the opposite of avidya. Avidya is ignorance, right? And seeing is panya, is called wisdom. With this wisdom, what this wisdom does is, it makes you see things as they really are. Like it makes you see that things are happening due to the necessary right causes and conditions. Right? So now, when you see this, you realize that I identified these objects. When the light falls onto the object, I see this person, that person, and then I assume, I mentally construct this is a man, this is a woman, and then when you see that mental construction, then if you remove that mental construction, then you can remove the mind and body, known as the nama rupa, name and the form. And then when you remove that name and the body, then you can remove these 6 spheres of sense. When you remove that cause and condition, then you can remove the contact. When you remove contact, you can remove feeling. When you remove the feeling, then you can remove craving. When you remove craving, you can remove grasping. When you remove grasping, then you can remove the birth of the existence. When you remove that birth, the existence, then you can remove the aging, sickness, death, and all these sufferings and pains, lamentation, grief, and all this. So basically, the fundamental point here is the seeing, the wisdom. You need wisdom to see this. And that wisdom is a thinking mind, not the emotional mind. When you let the thinking mind, rational mind become active, powerful, then the rest of the things will make you see as they really are. This is what you have to understand.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when it says, for example, the cessation of rebirth, well, I know obviously in the Buddhist context it does mean taking a new body, for example, rebirth in that sense, but when you consider that, for example, someone like the Buddha or some person could be in modern times, you or me, that they uproot ignorance within their consciousness such that they've transcended suffering in this life, then they're still inhabiting this body. So you could say that in the birth of the next moment, or the consciousness that takes birth in the next moment is not an ignorant consciousness, therefore it's a free consciousness, happy consciousness. So I think it's like, I don't know, maybe that's a wrong application.
No,
There's both the
that's
sense
yeah.
of rebirth into a new body and rebirth into the next moment, moment
Yeah.
by moment by moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a different story. Okay? Now this dependent origination, not only traditional people see, this is the explanation of the whole cycle of life.
Yes.
How things happen, right? Keep going people in the cycle of life. Although that's the popular understanding of the dependent origination, when you examine this explanation given by the Buddha, it is the explanation of how suffering, human suffering, comes into being.
Moment by moment.
Moment by moment. And then it is also the explanation how you can stop this suffering. How suffering begins, and then how suffering can be brought into an end.
Through wisdom.
Through wisdom.
Proper seeing.
Yeah. So, the beginning of suffering, original suffering is ignorance. The end of suffering is
Wisdom.
wisdom, is based on wisdom. So this is the, I would say,
The short form.
short form of this.
Maybe we have a question and then maybe a 10-minute meditation because we'll be at 4. And then people who want to ask more questions could stay afterwards.
Okay, sure.
I think about the purpose of reincarnation, that is a working on ourselves, and that doesn't mean we will be successful in this life, but I guess that's how I think of it as an important part of what we live, and the same with anger, and the same with joy, and this, that I guess it's, I am struggling, I have to admit, with that I don't exist, and I in some form, not my body, or that will all go, it's not permanent, but that there is an I that will develop and will transcend, I guess, in a way, to something else that
Yeah.
becomes more perfect in some way.
Yeah. Well, that is a form of what we call the Bodhisattva ideal. Bodhisattva means the prospective Buddha. What prospective Buddha does is seeing others suffering, and he sacrifices his own privileges. It says first to liberate himself. It is based on compassion, karuna, compassion. But you do this first liberating yourself from the suffering. It's called having become first liberating myself, I will liberate others. Having crossed the river of suffering, I will help others to cross the river of suffering. Having become enlightened, I will help others become enlightened. Right? So it is like the modern concept adopted by the aeroplane industry, like before taking off the plane, how the the flight attendants say, no, before putting the oxygen mask to someone else, put that on first to yourself, right? So of course we need compassion, like, but again we are doing this to alleviate suffering. To free ourselves from suffering. So it's a good thing that you have this compassion and you're developing compassion. In fact, seeing the suffering, that you could develop more compassion. That's what led Buddha to renounce the world, the privileged life. He saw the suffering of the world, of the society, and he said, now I need to find an exit from this suffering. I need to find a way. That's why he renounced the world, became an ascetic and practiced meditation. And then he found the way. After that, he came back to the society. Yeah? So it's like, of course, see whether you can, if someone is in pain, see whether you can embrace that pain without letting yourself being affected by that person's pain. If you're getting affected by that person's pain, that means you have not taken care of yourself. Right? So you need to do this more. It's also called the parami, perfection. You need to be perfecting. That means keep practicing. It's like how we do our daily practice. Before doing everything, we do our own practice. We wake up and we do chanting, meditation, and then we deal with the day's things. Whoever comes will listen to the story. And then wish happiness to them. So it's everyday practice. So when you keep doing this, one day you're going to be free, and your freedom will have an impact on others too. It's like when Buddha came back to the society as a free person, his freedom has had a big impact on the society. That's why even today we are talking about that. Right? So we need to keep doing this. Yeah.
So there's an element of wanting to, I guess in an ideal situation, our conscious evolution kind of allows us the ability to transcend the birth-death cycle. Correct?
Yeah.
Is there, outside of that, is there an element, or maybe within that process, is there an element of our emotions that stay contained in this version of reality that we exist in day to day, in this world, this earth? And is there a correlation with whatever that could look like with like the paranormal? Sorry, that was a really crazy question.
I think
I'm trying to draw a line
possible.
between the emotion, the emotional abundance that
Yeah.
one receives and projects over the course of a lifetime,
Mhm.
and what we think we're starting to try and understand about paranormal activity, or the idea of so much energy being contained in one space for so long from one entity that even after that entity is gone from this earth, there's still some amount of energy there. I don't know if this is something that's even in the realm of what we're discussing today, but it's a curiosity point for me.
Oh, I think it's a very important question. There is positive energy, right? And today's some people call it the universal energy. So that universal, the positive energy is maybe love, compassion, right? Maybe all the positive emotions. And at the same time, they also have the opposite, the negative ones. And this is why these are called the negative mind and the positive mind. So that's why they are identified by the neuroscientists as the Velcro brain or the Teflon brain. And these two forces exist. Exist in the sense, like these are there, but then it depends on what people are cultivating. What energy level they're siding with. Now let's say these days we feel so much agony just by listening to news, right? The warship has been sent to the Korean Peninsula. Anytime anything could happen. Right? So now why? Again, there are people who are supporting one notion here, they must be punished. The other one are saying no, they should not be punished. Right? So now this is the world as it is. So as long as the cycle of life continues to exist, this will be the reality. So that's why there is no end to this, because this is what's happening. This is the human beings who are doing this, because basically this is the conflict between the two egos. Now, you have to have wisdom not to be part of this conflicting wisdom. Then you need to allow your Teflon brain, Teflon mind to grow. And when this thinking, Teflon mind becomes powerful, that day you see, let's say, why are we still talking about Buddha? Why are we still talking about Jesus Christ? Whatever the positive energy, positive things they share, although they are, let's say, Buddha, they don't God. In the 21st century, we are still seeing the validity of that teaching. So that energy is still here. And we are trying to bring that energy into our heart and try to cultivate it so that we also could become enlightened like the Buddha. So now That's why we are doing this practice.